When you're dating, you're only picking one person. So the people that get through your screening process, pick your favorite out of them. Because you can have a great relationship with a vast number of people. And don't think that just because you're attracted to each other, this is the worst one, because it's the most difficult to pull yourself apart of, because it's so hard to overcome the attraction. It's like a drug addiction.
Right.
What's the best way to not get addicted to crack? Never smoke any crack.
Yeah.
Don't know what you're missing. Richard Pryor said it real well. Two people on crack can be real happy together. But as soon as one of them doesn't want to be on crack, it ain't going to work. You don't want them to be a great match for you and you be a bad match for them. Which, by the way, you're not a right match for most people. And you've got to go through these screening process, and you got to realize you're going to be screened too. Cheating on someone really
destroys
marriages because it destroys trust.
Can you trust your spouse not to run away from you? Can you trust your spouse to be there with you and walk that walk with you as you're in that storm? Because there's a lot of people out there that when things go bad, they're out the door. Just because you get married doesn't mean that the dating stops.
Correct.
You need to go on trips together. You need to spend time together, and you need to have one-on-one time. Like, it's important.
I'm not a person that believes that marriage is the end-all be-all no matter what.
Right.
What I believe is that you both go all in and you figure out and solve that problem. But there are plenty of times when one of the two of you is not doing that, or one of the two of you is not trustworthy, or this is not working. And if it's not working, you do certain things to see if you can get it to work. And if it's still not working, you end it and move on.
If there's
you do not sacrifice yourself for the sake of the marriage. You sacrifice the marriage for the sake of the self. Marriage is not meant to destroy you. Make sure that you find the right person so that you don't have to get a divorce. Use these screening mechanisms. You're going to learn a lot from this video. Stay tuned. Keep watching. So this is Dr. Jordan Peterson. How do you know if she's the one? She's the one for me. She's all I really want. She's the one for me. Wow. Wow. All right. You ready?
Yes.
The biggest mistakes, according to Jordan Peterson, that people make when choosing a life partner. You're going to see my take as a divorce lawyer in addition.
Do you have any advice on how to vet a potential marriage partner during the dating relationship phase?
Yes. Let me tell you what they are. You are looking for reasons to exclude someone. It's the same thing that you do, the same thing that we do when we're picking a jury. When we're picking a jury, we're actually not picking. We are looking for reasons to exclude the people who are bad for us. And then by default, if we've excluded everybody who's bad for us, everybody else will be a good juror for us. And we're taking the first 12 that are left over. And if you've asked the right questions to exclude the people that are wrong for you, then when you're dating, you're only picking one person. So the people that get through your screening process, pick your favorite out of them. Because you can have a great relationship with a vast number of people. Don't be afraid to go to the next candidate thinking, oh, I never get somebody, or I'm too insecure, or I'm not self-confident enough. Once you realize the things that I'm telling you, if you do realize this and you value yourself at that, you will then find, and naturally, the world will deliver to you many more people who will be interested in more candidates for you to have a good relationship with. Use these principles. This is going to be one of the best, most helpful videos to prevent you from having to hire us to do your divorce for you. Because I want you to have a healthy marriage. If I could put our divorce law firm out of business because there are no such thing as divorces anymore, that would be the greatest day ever. It's never going to happen, unfortunately. But if I can prevent as many divorces as possible, or if you got to get a divorce, we'll help you get through it in the healthiest way possible. But I would rather you have a healthy marriage. And if I can get to you before you get into an unhealthy one, just imagine this. You go, hey, Dana, you come into Dr. Dana's office and you go, hey, should I drink this poison? And I go, yeah, no, don't drink it. Okay, I won't. And then I get to go and have a great afternoon and it's like $75 office visit, no problem, right? Or you come in and go, hey, doc, I just drank this poison. Can you save my life? You go, yeah, Jennifer, book operating room number 3. It's going to be $75,000. And by the way, you ain't going to like this afternoon, but we'll save your life.
Right.
Cancel my plans, please. I'm going to be here for several hours. See the difference? I don't want you to have to get a divorce. I want you to have a good marriage. So please, this is the way you do it. It's not, hey, oh, that girl or that guy that I like over there.
No.
Oh, I like them. That is not what you go on. Values. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
What do
and
y'all
you
have
to
in common?
Not even necessarily things in common.
Values
It's
is
values
having
in common. But you don't have to have interests in common. Because if you have values in common, you will find that the things that they're interested in probably actually are interesting to you. Mm-hmm. And then the things that you're interested in are probably going to be things that they're going to be interested in because you have common values. Mm-hmm. But don't think that just because you're both interested in football or ballet or this type of thing or that type of thing, you can be very different people and have very different values, and your marriage is not going to work. And don't think that just because you're attracted to each other, this is the worst one, because it's the most difficult to pull yourself apart of, because it's so hard to overcome the attraction. It's like a drug addiction.
Right.
What's the best way to not get addicted to crack? Never smoke any crack.
Yeah.
Don't know what you're missing, right?
Yeah.
So, and with anything, so don't get into it. So use these screening mechanisms. It's not, can I get that girl? Can I get that guy? It's, should I get that guy?
Right.
And if it's yes, because they have these different qualities, then approach them as a whole person and establish a relationship and have a conversation with them. Bring your full self to them, and they will probably be interested if you're also a good match for them. You don't want them to be a great match for you and you be a bad match for them, which, by the way, you're not a right match for most people. And you've got to go through these screening process, and you got to realize you're going to be screened too, because you don't want to be in a relationship where you're not the right person for them, even though you're totally head over heels in love with them or whatever. If it's not right, it's not right. Move on. There are better things. And the older you get and the more wise you are, the less desperate you're going to feel for that emotional connection that you're going to have.
Absolutely.
And you don't necessarily need that, because it's something that you're like, oh, I'm going to have that no matter what. And, oh, yeah, I really can have all these great relationships.
Oh, yeah.
So
very true.
Use these screening mechanisms. You're going to learn a lot from this video. Stay tuned. Keep watching.
That's actually why people get married, just so you know. Because this is built into marital vows. I'm not leaving. Ever, no matter what. It's like, okay, well, that definitely puts a boundary around our arguments, right? Because I can't say every time you manifest one of your flaws, which you're likely to do just as often as me, well, enough of this. It's like, that's horrible, man. If your whole life is, well, every time you get out of line, I'm out of here. It's like, how the hell are you? First of all, you're not going to admit to ever doing anything wrong. Second, you're going to be on you're like a scared cat the entire relationship, because, well, who knows? It could just come to an end at any moment. It's a vow. And it says, look, I know that you're trouble. Me too. So we won't leave, no matter what happens. Well, that's a hell of a vow, but that's why it's a vow, right? That's why you take it in front of a bunch of people. That's why it's supposed to be a sacred act.
So that is true. However, I look at that almost as a fear-based argument. It's not about fear. It's about that vow, and the fact that you did that is worth it.
Right.
And that you stick there because you know out of your own wisdom. It's not that, oh, well, I'm not going to leave and I'm stuck. You're not a prisoner to your marriage. That's a very shallow way to look at it. The way that you look at it is, I am full in, all committed, and I know that, and I rely on that, and it gives you this level of peace and comfort and security and self-esteem that nothing else actually will provide to you. There is a level of calmness and wisdom. Somebody that is in a healthy marriage is a better person than somebody who is not, most of the time.
Right.
And on most instances, because you have that confidence. And even if the marriage ends, you'll still have that confidence. But it's a level and a type of person that is a higher level of maturity and evolution and spiritual balance that is worth it.
Well, and I think what he's trying to say here is a lot of people don't take the vows seriously.
A lot of people don't take the vow. And I think one of the things I've seen, I think this is an edited version of something that I've also seen about, I think that particular segment was taken from that, about when people live together without that vow and they're sort of married, but they're really not.
Right.
And that, hey, I'm just with you until I get something better, until something better comes along than you. And you're not worth it. And by the way, I'm not worth it. But let's play house because this is the best we can do for now. A real marriage is much better than that. And a real marriage takes both spouses being 100% all in. And not taking it for granted, but acknowledging, but knowing and moving well past that. You know, you see a lot of people that, and you go to a lot of churches, and sometimes I grow tired of this in church, which is choose Jesus. They're trying to convert new Christians. I'm like, I've been a Christian for years. What now? I'm well beyond this. I got it. I completely believe in Jesus. I see the difference that it is in my life. But how do I live that life? Try and follow in the footsteps of Jesus and do the right things, of course, those things. But how do I do that? How do I grow and be better than that? If anything, my ministry in this podcast is to teach and even show people how and where we are growing and going through that and showing people this is somebody who tries to do absolutely everything right in every instance, all the time, all day long, to the fullest extent that I can possibly grow in wisdom and in truth and in executing that and in doing the right thing every single time, every single decision, with no exception, period. And then going, how do I either fall short or how do I succeed? How do I grow in the strength and continue to succeed in the things that I do well and grow from any mistakes that I've made? And how do my mistakes serve me and inform me and educate me on doing things much better? And having a good and strong marriage where we have discussed those things and we are on that page and strong and together with those things, we are stronger together. You know, the example of if I was to take two of these pens and break one, but if I put them together, it's much more difficult to break.
Right.
More than twice as hard. It's the same thing. You are stronger together than you would be.
It's two chords are hard to break versus one. It's a Bible verse about that.
So
I'm trying to think.
Remember when I was talking about my weaknesses a second ago?
It's in Ephesians.
And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. And it's very true. It's basically, the way I like to describe it is 1 + 1 equals more than 2. 1 + 1 has to equal at least 2.
So our life group is a marriage group, and that's our Bible verse for our life group.
Ephesians 4:12.
Yeah, or Ecclesiastes. Yeah, 4:12. I just screwed them up with Ephesians, but yeah, our shirts say like 2 chords is stronger than one. It had to be shortened, but yeah.
Do you have any advice on how to vet a potential marriage partner during the dating relationship phase? Okay, so well, I can tell you what I've observed as a consequence of watching, all the married people, successful and unsuccessful, who I know, but also watching all my clients and giving this a fair bit of thought. Here's some of what's necessary for a successful marriage. You have to trust the person.
Number one thing, period. That's why cheating on someone really destroys marriages, because it destroys trust. And financially, if you can't trust someone with your money, it destroys trust.
Well,
too.
yeah, but when cheating happens, there are couples that can get through it, but they'll even state like, "Hey, she cheated on me. I still struggle when she's late getting home.
Yep.
I still struggle when I don't hear from her," like things like that. Yep. And that other person's like, I can understand. I broke that trust in a point of our marriage. It's a repair that is going to take many, many years to get us to a place where he might 100% trust me again. But yeah, when there are couples out there like, no, we're going to work on this. We're going to get through this. Like, I made a mistake. I love my husband. I want to get through this, the ones that are out there, or it could be vice versa.
In coming back from that, you are having exactly a conversation about trust. And that is the topic that you have to work on.
Yep.
And you have to be able to trust yourself as well.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a lot to get to that. But again, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't mean they can't make mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes and so are they. But fundamentally, you have to trust them. And what that means is that you have to trust that if things go...
The interesting thing is I do not recall ever having a conversation with my wife where she thought I was lying or I thought she was lying.
Well, I think what he's about to say here is he's saying you have to trust him even if things go wrong. But he's also stating, like, if, the crap hits the fan, can you trust your spouse not to run away from you? Can you trust your spouse to be there with you and walk that walk with you as you're in that storm?
Yep.
Because there's a lot of people out there that when things go bad, they're out the door.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's what he's about to talk about.
And by the way, if you notice someone and you're dating somebody like that, don't get in a relationship with a person like that.
No, you don't.
No way.
Yeah. If there's someone that's unstable in that area, you just need to not think about marriage.
Again, it's about screening out the people that are wrong for you and then choosing your favorite from who's left over.
Right.
Wrong. If they make a mistake, they'll do what was necessary in conjunction with you to set it right.
Exactly.
You have to be able to negotiate with the person, and those two things are tied very, very close together.
Yep.
So if you guys have to be able to have a conversation about what it is that you want to do, come to a conclusion, moderate your differences, move forward, and have that work. You have to be able to fight and make up. Both of those.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't fight.
And you have to understand when you're in the difficult problem that you're working about is that you don't start taking it personally.
Right.
You understand and respect and appreciate them for going through this particular journey with you, and that it's about this subject that we're talking about, and you're working together, not against each other in any argument.
Right. Absolutely.
With your potential marriage partner, then you're not communicating, because there's just no bloody way that you're going to get along. There's no way you're going to agree on everything. That's just not going to happen. So you have to be honest with one another enough to have some conflict, but then you have to be able to make up. That's a huge deal, man, because, well, then you get to have conflict and solve problems and make up.
It does take a level of emotional maturity, intellectual maturity, and wisdom. And by wisdom, I mean the application of knowledge to be able to effectively achieve the goals that you have for larger purposes. And by growing, it means that you're able to do more and more of that, and you know more, and you're able to get better results throughout your whole life because of that wisdom. That is a key.
Well, and I think, there's something that we learned in our marriage class. There's 2 circles. Each person has a circle. Daniel has a circle. I have a circle. And if I have something that I am expressing to him, he does not enter my circle. He allows me to express my feelings. He needs to understand where I'm coming from, and vice versa. He should be able to express to me his feelings, and I should not be going into his circle saying, well, you do this and this and that. That's not how it should be. It should be that we stay in our circles and that we work through it together. And then it's the communication. And you need to be able to trust that communication with each other.
So trust, negotiation, conflict resolution. The next thing I would say is, it's kind of nice if you're attracted to each other.
That does help. It needs to be there.
Yeah, you have to have some type of attraction.
You have to.
If there's a strong sexual attraction there, it isn't obvious to me that that's something that can be conjured up if it doesn't exist.
Right. It can a little bit, but sometimes it can't, and it's tough to get in one that's not there.
Yeah, I mean,
but you can get it. You can create it.
Right.
If you're intentional about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be 100% into it and go to those places and explore that with each other, and only with each other.
I haven't seen that happen successfully. That seems to depend on factors that aren't really under voluntary control. Obviously people can modify themselves to some degree to be more or less attractive, staying in physical shape and that sort of thing.
I don't think it's always physical attraction either. I also think being attracted to somebody, I'm attracted to intelligent people.
I think women in general are more attracted to intellectual and the person about it.
One of the things that I found very attractive in Daniel was his intelligence. I am attracted to that. I was attracted to his drive. like when we were younger, like him, wanting to go to college and do these things, like that was attractive to me. I mean, yes, he was cute when we were young. He still is. I shouldn't say it like that. But I mean, like I was physically attracted to him, but at the same time, I was also attracted to his knowledge and things like that. Yeah.
Him.
And his ability to be a kid, like being goofy and doing stupid stuff, like that was like funny to me. I like that. I like that about him, that he can let loose like that.
Yep. I like that about him too. I like to get to do that together with him. I can sit together with him like two kids under 10 years old. Our inner children are real good friends.
Nicely and having a certain amount of sex appeal and charisma and provocativeness, that's all there. But that's all well and good, and it's important, but
it's not the most important thing.
No.
It's one of the ingredients.
It's important and it's healthy in a marriage, but it also, there's other factors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do believe that spark that's outside of voluntary control is a necessary precondition for a long-lasting relationship.
That's kind of what I describe as the pick your favorite out of the bunch.
Oh yeah.
But the order of operations is important. You screen out people based on personality, and you could have somebody that is so irresistible to you on those physical and sexual and attraction items.
Right.
But you have to have that come next. You screen on personality first, and then if they get through that, the values first. You screen on values first, and if they get through that screening mechanism, then you can allow to look at the sexual things. Or maybe it's okay, they have the sexual things, I might be very interested in them. Now I'm very well going to screen them because I'm trying to look for a reason why they're not the right person so I can move them on and go to the next one. Because for every minute that you're in a relationship or something with the wrong person, that is a minute where the right person is walking right by you.
Well, it's amazing to me, people that get together who know right off the bat, I'm a Christian and I don't believe in God. Those people that get together like that. And then it's like,
not going to work.
No. And there's turmoil.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, well then what are you going to do when you have children? Are your kids going to believe in God, or are they not going to believe in God? It's
will
like,
destroy the family because it's a fundamental belief. And if you're not on the same page about that, I don't care how attracted to each other that you are, and you will lose respect for each other. It will always come to a wedge.
Well,
you have to get it on values first.
Right. And usually the one that's a Christian thinks they're going to be able to convert that person into Christianity. And
usually the atheist
that
thinks that they can convert the Christian into being an atheist. They're both thinking that they're going to shape this person who is the wrong shape into the mold of what it is that they want, and it's not going to happen. You're not going to change that person.
No, not at all.
I do believe, though, that if it's there, you still have to work very hard to maintain it.
I cannot agree and emphasize that enough.
Right.
You have to work very hard, very intentionally. Too many people have believed the lie and, they just live happily ever after. And that's it. I got it. We're done. We're here. Ha ha. Yeah. It just magically happens. No, as a matter of fact, that's going to be a big problem for you in your first year of marriage because you're going to encounter these issues of, what is this? I was never expecting this. And how can this be happening to me? This is a nightmare. And you have no idea what's happening. And you react real badly and they react real badly. And everybody freaks out.
Right. Especially when you first get married and let's just say you don't live together. And you're like a neat freak and the other person's like sloppy and you're having to like compromise between each other. But you're not realizing you need to compromise. Yeah. You think your way is the right way. They think their way is the right way. And
here is the thing.
It causes a lot
Before
of
you
issues.
get married, I would hope that they've been to your place and you've been to their place. This is the type of stuff that you look for. If they are in a shambles, that's going to be your life.
Right.
Or if they are ultra neat, you're asking to live with that,
right?
And if you don't want that, if you want to be a slob, Richard Pryor said it real well. Two people on crack can be real happy together, but as soon as one of them doesn't want to be on crack, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same thing about a whole lot of things. That's why you got to find values and things that match. Think, could I live with this person in this environment and that for the rest of my life? Could they live with me, and is that a match? Because I don't care how sexually compatible that they are with you, or how interesting or fascinated you are with them, or attracted that you are to them. That's not what makes a long-term relationship.
No, not at all.
That is what makes a nightmare.
As hard in your marriage as you would when you're dating.
Yes. In fact, you need to actually work harder. And you need to establish intentionally these conversations to build this foundation and keep building it and check that foundation and refresh and remind yourself of that foundation. You and your partner together, both of you, confirming it over and over to both yourself and to them and with them.
Right.
And you need to know that. It's also helpful if you actually like the person, if they're your friend.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the key decisions that made me realize I think it might be Summer. I think Summer might be the one for me because we really were friends. I tried to break up with her at one point. I was like, no, this isn't, But we then kind of friend zoned her. And that's when I realized how much I liked her.
Right.
And I really was like, we're friends, and I'm starting to find you irresistible the more I'm around you. And that's what
in your marriage as you would when you're dating, and you need to know that. It's also helpful if you actually like the person, if they're your friend, that you actually like to go do things with them, sort of independent of the romantic element, if you don't need to want to do everything together, but you should have some things that you like to do in common.
Right.
So some similarity in personality is useful.
You should date your spouse.
You should absolutely date your spouse.
Like,
at least once a week.
Just because you get married doesn't mean that the dating stops.
Correct.
You need to go on trips together. You need to spend time together, and you need to have one-on-one time.
Yep.
Like, it's important.
Yep.
The scale is useful for that. Like, look, here. It's really hard for an extreme extrovert and an extreme introvert to live together.
I want to go there.
That's true. I do want to go there too. It is very hard for an extreme extrovert and an extreme introvert. I remember people that I was considering going out with, and our life views and goals just weren't matching up of what she wanted to do and what I wanted to do and different things. And yeah, maybe later down the road, but we were in such different places, it would have just been impossible. And so we decided we didn't even consider or try to pursue anything about that. It was just a conversation, and we just was like, well, we'll kind of remain acquaintances and things, and I wish you the best, but yeah, we're not right to try and date each other.
Right.
Because the extreme
but she was very, very, very attractive, and she was very, very attracted to me, and it was like, no, we're just not, and it was actually a really cool experience. Talk about give you like a lot of self-confidence and security in who you are, is to be that wise of a person. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Extrovert wants to be with people all the time, and the extreme introvert is immediately exhausted by that. And neither of those things are precisely under voluntary control.
Most of your values are not under voluntary control. And if you want to change your values, for example, you're learning things that we're teaching on this podcast, you're learning things from all over the place, and you're constantly trying to get better at certain things, well, then, okay, you can grow and learn, and that's the process of getting wiser. But there are plenty of things that if there are things that tell you your values are incompatible with that person, that's not under voluntary control.
No.
And that's not going to be something that you're going to overcome. And for God's sake, why would you want to? Why would you want to put in all the effort? For what? Oh, because this person's really attractive? Guess what? Wait a few minutes. There's going to be somebody else that's going to come along that you realize, oh, I'm that much more attracted to. And move on. Don't get fixated on someone. Move on. And in fact, if you move on, if you intentionally decide to move on and do that, and then only look forward and stop looking back, it's going to be that much easier for you to move on. And you're going to think back later in life, go, what did I moved on from something? When you actually did.
Right.
Because you're not even going to remember it because you moved on.
It's really hard for someone super agreeable and super disagreeable to get along together, because the agreeable person isn't going to be able to stand up very well to the disagreeable person.
We see that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And we tend to represent, I think our client base skews a little bit more to agreeable. Why? Because of our branding. And we like agreeable people, and agreeable people like us. Disagreeable people in a divorce, they're a hell of a lot more work.
Oh yeah.
And we help them.
Right.
But it's a lot of work, and they have a harder time with it. They just do. I could go into that a lot more when we'll do another episode on that.
And the disagreeable person is going to think that the agreeable person is a pushover.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're not going to get the pushback that they think that they need, and they're going to start not respecting that person.
Right. They're going to start treating that
less of
person
them,
bad.
and they're going to treat that person badly, and it doesn't work. I don't know what the solution is for two disagreeable people to be together.
That's kind of what I'm concerned about, because you get two disagreeable people, and it really sounds like a very negative
If you are a
environment.
disagreeable type of person,
You need to work on that.
you need to work on that.
Yeah. Seek some counseling for
And
that.
yeah, I don't know what the solution for those people
You need
is.
to have more positive in your life.
The interesting thing, so there will be a day where I get to talk with Dr. Peterson, and I want to ask him, how does a disagreeable person have a healthy marriage? How do two disagreeable people get married to each other? What's the solution for that?
That's rough. It's very hard for someone high in openness and someone very low in openness to be together, because the open person is like fascinated by ideas and really interested in aesthetics and art and philosophy and poetry and all of that. And the person who's low in openness, it's like they're colorblind to that. It's not in their realm of involuntary.
And those marriages become highly dissatisfying to them both.
Right.
They grow
Interest.
apart.
Conscientiousness, the same thing. If you're a very conscientious person, very diligent, nose to the grindstone, industrious and orderly, and your partner can while away the time with no problem whatsoever and doesn't mind a mess and disorder, then that's the conscientious person is going to think that the unconscientious person is useless, and the unconscientious person is going to think that the conscientious person is an uptight tyrant.
Yep.
And it's not going to work.
Right.
And that's very, very hard to overcome.
Yep.
It's like a fatal flaw. So those extreme personality differences across more than one or two traits is going to make your relationship extraordinarily difficult.
So, and why do that?
Right.
Why? Because you're sexually attracted to each other? Because that's good?
Right.
By the way, it ain't going to work. Because the psychological and mental aspects of it are so much more powerful, especially over even a short period of time, but any length of time. The longer, the more problematic that it gets. The mental and emotional aspects of this are so much more important than any type of physical attraction.
Yep.
So the only place where that might be different is that, you probably don't want to both be high in neuroticism. So like if one of you is high in neuroticism and the other isn't, that's kind of a nice balance, because one of you will be a little alert to threat and the other one will calm the one who's alert to threat down. If you're both low in neuroticism, well, then that's not going to be too much of a problem, although you might be a little bit less risk averse than you should be. But mostly you want a fair bit of similarity in terms of personality. Then I guess the other thing is that, well, do you have something like a shared vision of the future?
Critical.
Yeah.
Absolutely critical.
Like how are you going to mediate the inevitable conflict between whose career takes priority? And what about kids? Do you both want kids? And if you do want kids, when do you want them? And how many do you want?
Big deal.
And what's your sense about who's responsible for what when with regards to the kids? And
You could make a checklist of these things that you need to have these discussions with anybody that you are prospecting with.
Yeah.
Same when you're running a household. It's like, do you have some sense of, do you have enough shared beliefs so that running a household together is something that is with a peaceful household and a productive household is within the realm of possibility?
Yep.
So that's what it looks like to me. You want someone, I think, in a relationship that you can spar with. And it's partly because you have hard problems to solve.
Correct.
And if the person that you're with isn't willing to put forward their opinion, then you only have half the cognitive power
And talk about frustrating.
that you would otherwise have. And hopefully you find someone who's interestingly different from you, like not so different that you can't communicate, and you have to be careful of that, but interestingly different, and then hopefully they have the ability and the will to express their opinion, and then, well, then it's you know, then your interest stays heightened, and there has to be that tension in a relationship. You know, people think, well, I want to get along perfectly with my partner. It's like,
that's not going to happen.
No.
You probably don't. You just get bored.
Yeah,
and then you
get
go
bored.
looking for trouble.
I
And
think
you want a
people
little
that
bit
think that you shouldn't fight, like, you need to fight at times, and not fighting all the time, but fighting every now and then. It's good for a marriage. I think it is. I think people that don't fight, I'm like, seems like something's not right there.
I wouldn't know, because sometimes we fight.
Yeah, I mean, you're fighting, yeah, you know, you're fighting for what you believe in or whatever at that moment, or whatever you're upset about. But at the end of the day, like, it's good. It helps.
of trouble in the relationship, and a little bit of mystery, and a little bit of combativeness, and the ability to exchange opinions.
Definitely the ability to exchange opinions. Have to.
Forthrightly. And I trust her, which is a huge element. I mean,
Again,
when we
trust.
finally did decide to get together permanently, we were both in our later 20s. And, you know, one of the things
'cause
that
that's still
I
young.
had learned by that point and insisted to her about was that we had to tell each other the truth. And she took to that wholeheartedly, you know, and for better and for worse, because truths can be harsh. And we've been good at negotiating, which is, you know, what do you want from a partner fundamentally? What do you want and need? I mean, the first thing is that, well, hopefully, you, like I said, you're blessed with the fact that you find each other attractive. And I think it's very difficult for the relationship to begin or proceed or sustain itself without that. But having that, then what do you want? Well, you want someone that you can trust. You want someone that you can build a view of the future with. And you want someone that you can negotiate with. And that's very hard to negotiate with people, because they have to tell you what they think. They have,
Especially when you're married to a man who is a professional negotiator all day long for a living. Hats off to Summer. Cheers.
to know what they want or figure it out. They have to tell you what they want. They have to be satisfied when they get what they want, which is also very difficult.
Yeah, if you have somebody that gets what they want and then still not satisfied with things, that's a tough person.
Thing to manage. And you have to continually update that, because your life goes through different stages.
Exactly. Regularly having discussions about things like this is extremely important, because years can go by.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing about marriage, this is really worth knowing too, is that I learned this in part from reading Jung. It's like, what do you do when you get married? You're going to shackle yourself to someone who's just as imperfect as you are. And then the issue is you might be in a situation where you can actually negotiate, because you might think, well, there's some things about you that aren't going so right, and there's some things about me that aren't going so right, and we're bloody well stuck with the consequences for the next 50 years. So we can either straighten this out, or we can suffer through it for the next 5 decades.
You would be shocked at how many people that I have the blessing or curse or duty, I guess is the best word, of talking to, who have suffered through for 50 unhappy years. I don't believe that you should suffer through for 50 unhappy years.
No.
The point of this is solve this.
Right.
If you're not going to solve it, get out.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that believes that marriage is the end-all be-all no matter what.
Right.
What I believe is that you both go all in and you figure out and solve that problem. But there are plenty of times when one of the two of you is not doing that, or one of the two of you is not trustworthy, or this is not working. And if it's not working, you do certain things to see if you can get it to work. And if it's still not working, you end it and move on.
If there's
you do not sacrifice yourself for the sake of the marriage. You sacrifice the marriage for the sake of the self.
Right.
Marriage is not meant to destroy you. It's not 1 + 1 = -1 of you, and positive the other one. It is that 1 + 1 = at least 2, not destroying you. Marriage is a sacrament. And just like the parable where they wanted to crucify Jesus for working on the Sabbath. And he said, which one of you would, if your ox fell into a pit, would not pull him out if it was on the Sabbath?
Right.
And he said, was man created for the Sabbath, or was the Sabbath created for man? the
Sabbath was created for men.
The Sabbath is a sacrament. A sacrament
Right.
is a gift.
Right.
And you do not sacrifice the man for the sake of the gift. Well, marriage is also a gift.
Right.
It's not meant to destroy you. It's meant to bless you.
Mm-hmm.
If it is destroying you, you sacrifice the gift for the sake of the people that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to bless you.
Right.
You should go all in to do the things that it's blessing you. But if you can't, then you don't destroy yourself because you committed to get married. That's not what it is about. It is not meant to damage you. It is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to make you better.
Right.
And a good, healthy marriage does make you better. If you have an unhealthy marriage, you should end it by making it a healthy marriage, preferably if you can. And if not, you should get as healthy of a divorce as you possibly can. And you should make sure that you find the right person so that you don't have to get a divorce.
And, people are of the sort that without that degree of seriousness, those problems will not be solved. You'll leave things unnamed because there's always an out. And it's the same thing when you're living together with someone. You know that people who live together before they're married are more likely to get divorced, not less likely. And the reason for that is, what exactly are you saying to one another when you live with each other?
Exactly.
Just think about it. Well, for now, you're better than anything else I can trick.
Yep.
But I'd like to reserve the right to trade you in.
Yep.
Conveniently, if someone better happens to stumble into me.
I find that really sad.
Yeah. But that's the truth of it.
No, it is. And it's happening more and more these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad.
Yep. And people don't know better.
No.
Because a lot of it is because just the differences in values and things like that.
Yeah, I do think people know better. I think people just choose because the motto nowadays is do what makes you happy.
Yeah. Well, it's that whole societal thing that is just not.
What makes you happy, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not quite what you should be doing.
That's how you get so many people that are addicted to drugs and on this downward spiral. And
that's why they say depression's higher, suicide's higher, all these different things are higher. Because the motto is do what makes you happy. Well, guess what?
It doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, no. And it's leading people into
misery.
dark, dark lives.
Mm-hmm. This is the Lawyer Dana Show.